Arizona, homeowner's best friend.
You had said earlier it's not additional restrictions, and it's less, and I think this opens the door for more people to start, their micro farms.
Yes, and that's a big deal. I mean, I was on a conversation yesterday with ASU School of Sustainability, had 3 professors on the line, and we were discussing a lot of kind of what's coming and how do we implement things and what programs are available for students. And in the discussion, it just kind of, I realized that in some regards, we've gotten so fixated in our public education, the university standing, so fixated on theory based on past that we're not really moving towards a future that is truly sustainable or even applicable. It's like it's too theory-based and not applied. And so here we are trying to dive into a more applied practice of good theory. And it's actually happening more often than not in people's backyards. You're learning it from a hands-on level, not just theory, not just going through the idea of it, but the application of it. And as more and more organizations start applying the principles, like we're doing at the Queen Creek Botanical Gardens, I mean that's a great petri dish, I guess you could say, that you can go and see, touch, feel the application of sustainable, new age sustainable practices in growing food and integrating that right into the local food economy. Not only the challenges that we face in trying to convert over to a system like that, but also the benefits. And it's the benefits are more far-reaching than I ever expected. In terms of mental health challenges that people have, the volunteers that we have out at the Queen Creek Botanical Gardens are amazing.
All mentally challenged?
No, not all mentally challenged. This is
the opposite.
It's the opposite. It's they're finding healing, and especially around the political arenas. I mean, for all of us, we're all exhausted. Many of us are just grateful that we know what's happening now.
Oh, my feelings are hurt. My phone, I've had to call myself to make sure it's still working. Apparently, I'm not every politician's best friend anymore.
Oh, you're not?
I thought we were all pals on every side of the aisle. My phone hasn't dinged once.
Yeah. And so along that same lines, it's like what we find when people are gardening and growing their own food and are part of growing and beautifying and replenishing the earth the way we do at the Queen Creek Botanical Gardens, the divisive subjects don't come up. And that's because we're focusing on what we're for, not what we're against. And that's one of the beauties, the side benefits, I guess, of being a part of a gardening club, being a part of a gardening organization, is that you do find healing and find that humanity, when you're focusing on what we're for, especially when it's around food, that we come together. We recognize the family we all are and the neighbors that we inevitably are. And there's much more common ground. There's certainly common ground about eating and wanting to be healthy. I don't know anybody that doesn't want greater and improved health. I just don't find it.
And I think that's the long term of where this is all going to benefit the small micro farm, because this is going to drive awareness and demand for better natural food. And there's a process time where a big farm, if they've used, certain chemicals, there's a certain amount of years that they have to go before it can be certified organic, as all that stuff is leached out and, it kind of dissipates. So the immediate demand can come from your backyard.
Yes. Well, and another thing,
what did you call it earlier this year? Hyper-local?
Yeah, your hyper-local food sourcing. But on the policy level, another thing that it'll open up, by freeing things up, is by reducing some of the regulations associated with becoming like USDA organic. That actually does improve the opportunity for more people. Because right now, if you've got a farm that's under an acre and you're trying to get an organic certification, it's expensive, ridiculously expensive just to get the certification. So it becomes cost prohibitive to even try to apply for a program like that when you're on a small farm or a localized farm. You got to have a huge operation. And that was an interesting play by the federal government that isn't very useful to create a sustainable system. So as some of those things are reduced, or at least the process simplified, now the opportunity for better growing practices can be applied in a more localized situation much easier. And so those are some of the things that on a policy side makes a difference.
Rosie on the house, every Arizona homeowner's best friend.